Almost everyone has crammed for an exam before, but does this still work in the real world? Well, first, what would real world cramming even look like? Some sort of learning would have to take place in under 24 hours, and something would have to be on the line, because normally your grades and tuition are at stake. Well, when a friend of mine made a bet to play poker at the casino for $500 the very next day, I knew this was the perfect opportunity to see how successful cramming in the real world really can be. I had only ever played poker for $5 or $10 with friends and never studied it. Because I only had 24 hours, I found a pro to learn from to be as efficient as possible. I watched over 8 hours of his classes and my brain was beyond capacity. So to salvage my study grind, I came up with these 4 takeaways to focus on. Whether or not I could remember them at the table would be my final exam. As I sat down for my very first time at a casino, I was instantly pressured to bet more than in all of my friendly games. I also hadn't even seen my hand yet and got caught as a newbie not knowing how the dealer works at a casino. After trying to hide my mistake, I looked at my first hand to see ace-9 suited. This hand could be a solid start as it fell right into the most relevant thing I learned. To quickly break this down, the earlier my position, the more I should fold weaker hands because they have a smaller chance of winning. The small blind is the worst position, followed by my starting spot, the big blind. These are considered harder because I have to act or bid first, and everyone afterwards gets to react to me, normally to try and bully me out. So if I raise slightly in an early position, anyone afterwards can re-raise me, and now I'm stuck putting more money in or folding. Thankfully, I had practiced against AI and remembered these 3 sets of starting card ranges that I'd be willing to play based on the position I was in. Ace-9 suited clipped the edge of the early positions range, so I was ready to rock. The flop came and I had the highest possible pair to start off my night. My heart was beating already and I just panic raised $5. The guy to my left re-raised to 15 and I defended my pair of aces by re-raising him to $35. After a quick call from him, a king came on the turn. And right as I grabbed chips to raise, I finally remembered what I learned about position. If I raise again here, the guy on my left can re-raise and bully me after I put even more money in, so I checked instead. And there it was, a $35 raise from him, except now I didn't already put extra money in the pot. I still called though. With a 3 of spades on the river, I checked again because of my position. Thankfully, he's a real mate and checked back. We both had a pair of aces, but since I had the 9 compared to his 2, my best 5 cards were better than his. And just like that, I'd won $71 in my first 2 minutes. After this, it took some discipline and patience to fold hands until I got something in my range again, so I could have the best chance of winning. Doing so set me up for avoiding the first of 3 common mistakes. The initial mistake I avoided is calling way too much with mediocre hands. I can't tell you how much money I saved folding mediocre hands I would have normally played in the past with hope to then see a bad flop. There's also a second half to this I tried out when I got pocket kings. I remembered the course taught me to do the opposite of the mistake when you have strong hands. To do so, I needed to defend the strong hands with a big bet pre-flop. This causes a lot of weak hands to fold, preventing them from accidentally getting a good hand if a dry board is flopped. With the pocket kings in hand, I had someone before me raise to $5. I put my training to work and defended this strong hand by re-raising to 20, hoping to get most people with weaker hands to fold. But having my raise just small enough that someone with an okay hand might still call. The flop came and man, it was the definition of a dry board. But with making players with low cards fold to my $20 raise, I knew there was a solid chance I had the best hand right now. The guy to my right raised $35, and because of my position, I got to react to him and called. The turn was jack, making me feel extra comfy. The mate to my right goes all in, I call, and we see a 9 on the river. He shows ace-6 with my pair of kings wins. Let's go, cramming is feeling way too good right now. Now just 2 more common mistakes to not forget and fall prey to. The first one made me clench when it happened. It was to avoid folding too often after flops with equity. I had 6-7 offsuit and was on the button. I get to see the entire flop and react to everyone else. This means the range of hands I'd play has widened, and to avoid being always easy to read, I'd very occasionally play hands a bit outside my range. The flop came jack, jack, 6, and $25 was put into the pot by 2 players to my left. If they have the jack, I'm likely gonna lose now, but the hands I've shown at the table so far have all been pretty strong. The pair of 6s I have, I thought was decent board equity, so with the chance to scare off other players, I opted to defend this equity with a re-raise to $50 before these guys could see any more cards and get equity themselves. After some personal butt clenching, watching them debate calling, they both folded and I gave a sigh of relief. I can't tell if it's luck or cramming at this point, but I will gladly add $50 to my stack. To avoid the final common mistake, never mix emotion with your logical thinking.
What the
Well
got called
done.
a race with frickin' King 8.
Earlier in the night, I had ace-10 offsuit and accidentally folded my hand as I misread my position. I then watched myself lose on over $200 as I would have hit an early full house. But considering what position I thought I was in, my fold is what I would have done. Instead of trying to catch that missed win later on weak hands, emotionally trained me still folded, and I watched as I avoided losing $15 to $40 to call and see a bad flop. There were two final things I was able to cram in and put to the test. The first is noticing players' tells and body language and defending your own so you don't give away free information. I saw a couple of these tells I remember, but never was in the hand to cash in on them. Be wary though, these tells aren't always accurate, so if you use them yourself, try to get some data points on other players before incorporating this info. To defend myself from giving tells, I implemented the following. Identified prior, I would do a one-tap hand to visually check instead of verbally saying check or tapping twice. If I raised, I would stare at the exact same place every time. For me, this was the middle card of the flop. If I was moving chips into raise, I would keep my arm slightly bent and never lock it in straight. I protected my hand the same way with 3 chips, regardless of if I was about to go big or fold. And I did the bare minimum of talking. This was painful for me. Being quite social, I found remaining quiet for over 3 hours was like telling a toddler to sit still, except I'm the toddler. Anyhow, the final thing I learned was put to the test in a showdown against my friend. My focus was on my class's wrap-up recommendation when playing at what the pro considers low stakes. Play premium hands and value bet when you have it. I had ace-10 offsuit and I was in a good position. The pot was ace-10-5, luck had hit me again like a punching bag. I raised $20 and my friend calls. Our value betting plan is working. A queen came on the turn, so I hit him again with a value bet of $25. And remember, a king. I was super afraid he might have made a straight now with a jack and was baiting me. So I passed on my third chance to value bet and he revealed he had no jack and my 2-bear took the win.
Hey, good hand over there.
Thank you, sir.
Value betting just gave me $45 and plenty of dopamine. In the end, the cramming was not only successful because I was up $182, but also because I was able to remember enough to not deviate from my plan going into the night. If you're thinking of cramming and taking your first steps into a casino for poker, I typed in the description some of the mannerisms that aren't taught in the class that I had to learn on the fly in person. Ravioli out.